Kim Becker and Chad Jensen here with Mile High Huddle. And Chad, the Denver Broncos sent 9 scouts to the Senior Bowl this week, but General Manager George Paton stayed in Denver. Do you think that the deal here with Matthew Stafford could potentially hold water as being the reason that Paton stayed back?
I think there's a little something to it. Now, it's kind of being viewed a little bit as a tinfoil hat conspiracy that George Paton stayed back in Denver because the time is now if you want to make a play for Matthew Stafford. If you do indeed want to make a push and make an offer, you got to get everyone in the organization on the same page. You got to look at the resources. You got to make the phone calls and act now. And I think there's a little something to that. Now, the talking points that we're hearing from the team are more about, no, George stayed back this time because he's finally got an opportunity with all the coaches have returned to the building at Dove Valley, and he's now got an opportunity to finally sit down and spend time with each coach and, kind of get a beat on the coaching staff. And while I'm sure there's some truth to that, I don't think it's necessarily the whole reason or the complete truth. I do think right now, George Paton and the Broncos as an organization are furiously examining whether or not to make a push, make a play for Matthew Stafford, the Detroit Lions veteran quarterback who very recently was given permission by the team to seek a trade. So, of all the scuttlebutt we heard going into this offseason about quarterbacks who could potentially be made available on the trade market, Stafford's the only one who up to this point has officially gotten the green light. So if you're the Denver Broncos, you want in on that action, you're going to have to get ready to play and get set up and make that offer now. And there were reports on Tuesday that the Detroit Lions have already fielded a few offers and phone calls on the topic of Matthew Stafford, who turns 33 in about a week. So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I don't have any inside information per se that George Paton is one of the GMs around the league that has made an offer to the Detroit Lions for Matthew Stafford, but I wouldn't be surprised if sometime within the next week or two we find out that the Broncos did.
Well, like you said, this is all speculation, but it definitely would be exciting to see. But we also know that Matthew Stafford comes at a price. So the Denver Broncos would have to be giving up some pretty pennies here, I think, for him in terms of trade deals, right? Whether it's Drew Lock or first-round picks, something that we have definitely been paying attention to the last few days and something I'm sure we will be paying attention to for the next coming weeks.
We've heard a couple things by way of the rumor mill. It started with that the Lions, the whole conversation for Stafford and what gets them to pick up the phone and even listen and entertain an offer is a first-round pick. Now, I'm not sure that's true. And if it is true, the Denver Broncos, their first-round pick is a little bit more valuable than some of the other first-round picks that might be, in the second half of round one. They're sitting there right now with pick 9, and that's a very, very valuable pick. It's a very valuable commodity, a piece of capital in terms of the NFL draft value scale as it relates to each and every pick in the first round. So I hope it doesn't come to that. I would rather see the Broncos hold on to that number 9 overall pick. But then there was other reports and speculation, I should say, that it might take only, I know Peter King of NBC speculated that maybe 2 second-round picks could get the job done, or a second-round pick and Drew Lock could get the Detroit Lions listening. But it just depends on how hot the market is in terms of, the demand, right? Demand, supply and demand, the laws of economics kind of dictate this thing. So if the Broncos have a lot of competition in the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes, that's going to drive the price up, which means the Broncos will have to be willing to part with more. So we'll see how it shakes out. I just hope they don't talk themselves into mortgaging the future, mortgaging the farm, so to speak, to acquire Stafford, because as much as I like him, he's a solid guy. We're not talking about Peyton Manning here. And we're not even talking about Jay Cutler circa 2009, who was just approaching his prime years and had the best, the best was in front of him, so to speak. And there's no reason to believe at this stage, entering what'll be his 13th year in the NFL, that the soon-to-be 33-year-old Stafford can say the same.
Yeah, a lot of wheels have been turning here in the last couple of weeks, and the season really isn't over yet. We still have a Super Bowl in 2 weeks, so it'll definitely be interesting to see in how much time, how many other players, come about, and many more factors that we can see here before the draft actually starts. So definitely something to keep our eye on. But Chad, as always, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kim.